Hello, folks. Welcome back to Frog Factory Reviews. And let me tell you something. In space, no one can hear you scream. Why did I say that? Because that is today's slogan for today's movie. Today's movie is. Oh, yeah, I got a point machete to go along with that. Yeah, go figure. Anyway, today's movie is a sci fi horror classic that had a rough beginning for a while, but in the end became a huge hit that spawned a great sequel, and a questionable third film, and an unholy fourth film that was dubbed a real piece of trash, and two shitty prequels that have been deemed not canon. Today's movie is the original Alien from the quadrilogy set. Yeah. So here we got like Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. Now, you want to know what I like about the quadrilogy set, which is standard in the Blu-ray set as well, which I have yet to get my hands on? The fun fact about this sequence, about these films, the quadrilogy has all 8 movies. What's that? Oh, quadrilogy means 4 films, so why did I say 8? Shouldn't this be an octilogy or something? Nope. Well, it kind of is an octilogy. Okay. What I mean by 8 films is which means Alien is both theatrical and director's cut, sort of. I mean, it's a director's cut. I'm putting that in quotes because it's not really the director's cut version. Aliens and Aliens Special Edition, which of course is the extended cut version, which actually was released back in theaters in 1992, and then later got released on home video for a little while until it got released on DVD. Alien 3, both the questionable theatrical cut and the director's cut version, which of course was finally released, proving the director's art style. And of course, we have Alien Resurrection, the film nobody wanted. Seriously, nobody wanted that fourth film, and yet there's 2 versions of it too. What the fuck? Like, one version wasn't bad enough. There was 2 versions. I can't even. Wow. I can punish myself and go on for almost 3 hours about why we did not need a fourth film, but the fourth film is a review for an absolute another day. However, supposedly, as far as the canon storyline goes, if you want to follow the film's canon storyline, you have to watch the director's cut versions of these movies. Although Alien 3, the third film is actually. Now, I'm going to be honest, Alien 3, the original version of it, though, is a lot better. I'm not even joking. Like, the theatrical cut version was very questionable, but it was mostly disliked. However, the director's cut version, also known as the producer's cut version, was a lot better by comparison. I mean, like, it was so much more better. Like, it actually made more sense. Even though Newt and Hicks still died in the beginning, which really pissed a lot of people off. It still does piss a lot of people off, including myself. But it's more bearable in this version. Aliens, mwah, it's a beautiful, classic, awesome movie. But that's not. No, we are not looking at those films. No, we're looking at the original version, directed by Ridley Scott. That's right. We're looking at the original Alien, which later on actually had 2 prequels, which really was supposed to be a trilogy of films, but the last one was so bad, nobody wanted the third film to come out, so they shut the film down. Yeah. It's bad enough when these 2 films first came out, a lot of people didn't like them at first, but compared to Prometheus and Alien Covenant, these 2 fucking films are a fucking godsend. Yeah. And all joking aside, they are way better. The second one, though, the second one was beyond the point of ruthless. Like, legit fucking ruthless. Like, a lot of people get killed in the movie. innocent women and children, unborn babies. It is just a fucking gore fest at that point. But the Predator is the best part of of the second movie. If you want to see my review and my talks about it, go look it up on my channel. I mean, I did do both these movies. Both these movies, in my opinion, are definitely worth watching. And yeah, the director's cut. Yeah, and here's the fun fact: this Blu-ray edition actually has both the director's cut and the theatrical cut versions of these movies. I recommend the unrated cut versions, which are actually much more better by comparison. But that being said, let's talk about Alien. I'm actually going to try. I'm going to go back and forth a little bit between both variations of the film, but we're going to mostly concentrate on the so-called director's cut version. Well, I'm not going to call it the director's cut version. I'm going to call it the AC cut, alternate cut version, which was better, but there's a massive key sequence missing that kind of fucks the whole film. So it's not really the director's cut version. Yeah, my fingers went a little crazy on that one. So yeah. That being said, let's talk about Alien. The movie takes place in the far future, and okay, before I go any further, I just want to say, yes, I am aware that Blade Runner takes place in this film's universe. That's right. Aliens, Blade Runner, and Predator all take place in the same fucking universe. I am more than aware of that. I get it. Okay? Ugh. So I don't want any more. So if you want to make any replicant jokes later, just put them in the fucking comments, all right? I need that shit. Ugh. So the movie actually takes place in the far future. My guess is it's supposed to be 50 years or maybe, no, I'm going to say over 100 years at this point because it makes more logical sense to say 100 years. Where we actually see the commercial ship Nostromo, which is actually a mining ore ship that's actually on its way home with a crew of 7. And the ship's computer mother actually gets a transmission of some kind. Yeah, a transmission, a unknown transmission from an unknown source. Now, the ship later changes its course and wakes the crew up. We're introduced to Captain Dallas, played by Tom Skerritt, which is a little weird considering the fact he gets top billing, and yet Sigourney Weaver's the main star of the whole movie. Yeah, so, okay. So we see Dallas, Parker, Lambert, Brett, Ash, Kane, and of course, the main heroic female star, Sigourney Weaver's very first movie role, Ellen Ripley. And that's the entire crew. I recognize all the names because I remember watching this a lot when I was really getting into R-rated films at the time. And plus, I saw the television version as a kid, so that kind of helped. So it wasn't until years later. It wasn't until a few years later where I actually saw. So about maybe a year later, I saw the third film, and then I saw Aliens, and I thought Aliens was so fucking awesome. But enough about that. They wake up and yeah, I gotta say something else too. Supposedly the original sequence of the wake up thing, it was the camera was supposed to pan around the entire crew, but it doesn't. And I think one of the controversies was that the women were actually that both Ripley and that both Ripley and Lambert were both topless during the scene. And yeah, I did actually find the set photo of both the actresses when they were sleeping in the crowd chamber. Yeah, they were both topless, but there was a white strand of tape over their sensitive nipple areas. So, right, and honestly, you see Lambert like right next to Kane who wakes up. All right, so we just focus on Kane waking up like all dramatic, like oh. Isn't it kind of funny to know he's the first guy who wakes up, and yet he's the first guy who gets killed? And he's played by John Hurt, amongst all things. Spoiler alert. Actually, it doesn't really matter if it's a spoiler alert because everybody knows that John Hurt dies in a lot of movies, and if he's in this film, he's gonna fucking die. Actually, he's the famous. Actually, he's got the famous scene of the scene. So yeah, I mean, come on, who doesn't know that? So So yeah, so yeah, they wake up, they have breakfast, they get ready for their duties. Dallas actually checks the ship's, actually talks to goes to the main computer room and talks to Mother via keyboard. And we don't actually see the sequence in the director's cut version, but she basically tells them that they strayed off course to intercept to go after a transmission to intercept a transmission of unknown origin. And okay, the crew realizes that they're nowhere near their solar system. Well, gee, no shit. I mean, we're missing our main planets and the dwarf planets that actually occupy our solar system. Seriously. Also, as I said, dwarf planets. I was watching an episode of Alpha the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and Alpha actually said there were actually more planets in our solar system, but they were dwarf. But we've actually confirmed that Pluto is still technically a dwarf planet, but it's still considered it's not considered a planet by the scientists. It's a dwarf planet. If the word planet is in its name, then yeah, it's a planet. A dwarf planet, yes, but I get it. So, but there's actually another dwarf planet right behind it. So go figure. Well, whatever. Dallas tells the crew that they are nowhere near their course, and they actually have to go intercept, check out where this transmission is coming from. And it's well, Parker and Brett are kind of pissed off about it because they are both the hard laborer guys. And they were discussing earlier about their bonus situation. And Ash, the main scientist, is telling them, who's played by Ian Holmes amongst all people, he basically tells them in a calming voice, while Parker just says he didn't want to hear it. And Dallas shuts him up and has Ash explain the situation. If they don't check it out, they forfeit their share, so they don't get paid, which means nobody gets paid. And Parker's like, let's check out this transmission. And so in the director's cut version, we actually see that they actually hear a weird sound coming from the transmission. So they go to the planet, which is LV 420, which is LV 24, 220, 284. I forgot the name of the fucking planet. It's LV something, or it's one of the LV planets. All right, which is not the same planet that was in the fucking Prometheus film. And I guess I'm referring to Prometheus because that film got so because they fucked up the logic so much in that film, it's not even funny. Oh yeah, that kind of hurts. So yeah, so we get a nice little prop effects sequence where they use a bunch of prop effects and try to land, actually separate the main explorer vessel from the Nostromo's cargo portion and land the ship right on the planet. But there's several malfunctions and they had to, well, shit, now we gotta fix the damn ship. Whoa, whoop de friggin' do. So it's gonna take at least maybe over a day or two for the damn thing to get fixed. And they found out the transmission is pretty close by. So Dallas Lambert and Kane dress up in their spacesuits to go check it out while Ash is monitoring them. Ripley actually tries to help out. Helps out Parker and Brett trying to get the ship fixed. And of course Parker's kind of annoying the shit out of her. So she just says fuck it, goes back to the bridge and stays with her cat Jonesy. Yeah, there's a cat in this movie, which is perfect for a jump scare. So we get the sequence of of actually of the crewmen actually going out to check out the wasteland areas, and we see the derelict spaceship, and they've never seen anything like it. It is quite unique. I should also mention that the ship was originally designed by hold Dan O'Bannon. Did some concept art for the original ship, but okay, they had HR. Once HR Geiger came aboard, it's like, yeah, all bets were off on that one. For those of you who don't know, HR Geiger is actually known for making some of unique pieces of artwork, known as biomechanic artwork. And of course, he usually devises well, sort of sexual imagery mixed in with some grotesque imagery with a lot of biomechanical features. And his book, Necronomicon, became very popular. In fact, during the production, when they were about to get started with filming, Ridley Scott actually saw Necronomicon and actually liked how the images looks perfect. So they contacted H.R. Geiger to come in and actually help design the xenomorphs. In fact, if you look at H.R. Geiger's Necronomicon, you can see where the xenomorph inspirations came from, and some of the other imagery too, like this, like the ship design, like the ship interior design, the face hugger, and the space shotgun. Yeah, all of it originated from H.R. Geiger. And he is credited in this movie too as the effects guy who created the alien. He also created Sill's alien and species. Yeah, that makes way too much sense now that I think about it. That film had a lot of sexual content in it, and the theme of H.R. Geiger's Necronomicon had a lot of sexual elements in it. That explains a lot. So yeah, that explains a lot in this movie. So they enter into the ship, and Ash loses contact with them. Ridley gets bored and decides to actually try to decode the message, the transmission message. That could be like an SOS or something. So she starts trying to decode it. And wouldn't you happen to notice, and notice this, know it. It turns out it wasn't an SOS. It was a warning beacon telling people to stay the fuck away. But it was actually in pure binary code. So the whole thing was a legit and pure binary code, or somewhat binary code. It's like semi-binary, but it's apparently universally translated through binary. That's how she was able to get through some of the messaging. Anyway. Dallas, Lambert, and Kane, they explore the ship. There's a lot of interesting features on the ship that are, well, I'm surprised nobody actually noticed this at first, but the ship's interior design looks almost has some identical features to the Yautja spaceship from Predator 2, which nobody actually noticed it until the fans, and of course there was a comic storyline that said, "Oh, the space shock is actually met the Yautja at one time, and the Yautja actually reverse engineered the technology." Wow, that actually explains a lot more now that I think about it. So anyway, we get that famous sequence of they find the space shock in it, and the whole set is just massive. Oh my god! Originally they thought it was a miniature effect. No, it was a massive set that cost almost a quarter of a million, like more than a $500,000. I think it was at least maybe over $1 million to actually make that entire set. And this was back in 1978, 79. That is a lot. So back then, cool. Yeah. And did it work? Yeah, it did. Yeah, the space shotgun is all biomechanical, and despite what Prometheus said, it wasn't a suit. It was a bioorganic creature that could fuse itself in with its computer system, and the chair was designed it. It wasn't a humanoid creature with with a suit that actually looks similar to it. No, seriously, Ridley Scott, the fuck were you thinking on that one? Whoever actually wrote Alien versus Predator, Fire and like Stone and Fire or something with the engineers actually being in there. You guys really fucked up on one thing. The Predators are far stronger than the engineers. How? Fun fact: a human is so well. For one thing, the engineers are taller, and and humans are smaller. Okay, I get it. So, but let's compare that from an engineer and a human with a Yautja, and the comparison for that would be a chimpanzee. A chimpanzee is relatively smaller than an average human, but it has more muscle density and is a far stronger and more vicious. Seeing the difference? You see where the similarity is? The Yautja is comparatively a chimpanzee to an engineer, which means the Yautja, despite its diminutive size, is far stronger and more aggressive. Which means, yeah, Fire and Brimstone, the engineer picks up and throws around the Yautja. Yeah, no, that's not what happens. Yeah, no, that never would happen. That's never going to happen. No. In reality, that predator would literally tear the fucking arm off from the socket with his bare hands. You fucking idiots. God. Bottom line, keep the engineers out of it. And you put them in there, predators will fuck them up. That's the fuck up. Own it. So you made that fuck up. You have to own it and fix it. Oh wait, no, they can't do it because now both franchises are owned by Disney and Marvel. Fuck. Okay, so anyway, they discovered the space. Sorry for rambling on like that, but apparently they discovered the space shotgun is dead with a hole in its chest. And this is one of the problems in the franchise because you never find out what actually happened to the xenomorph that came out of that thing. Supposedly in Aliens Colonial Marines, the video game, you actually find an alien at some point, and it's called the Scorn Alien or the Scorpion Alien, which is a very deadly creature. But whatever. Kane discovers a hole. He goes down the hole, and it's hot as hell down there. And it's a massive chamber, designed by H.R. Geiger, by the way, which is beautiful. Which is a beautiful design set, or mostly it's just a matte painting, or it's mostly a set mixed in with a matte painting. But either way, it's a great shot, regardless. Love the special effects. So anyway, it's full of thousands of, not thousands, but millions of eggs. So Kane goes down. He actually sees one of the eggs. He discovers that the leathery objects are actually eggs. He gets close to one. There's activity in it. He takes out his gun because he's a little freaked out. But he sees that the thing is alive. It's like, oh my god, it has life, organic life. Huh? What the heck is that? Ah! Yeah, it's John Hurt. We saw this coming. Yep, we saw it coming. So they drag his lifeless body back to the ship. Ripley gets into an argument with Dallas and Lambert because they had to apply because they had to abide the 24-hour quarantine code. Ripley is actually third in command on the ship because Dallas is actually the captain and Kane is second in command. But since they're both outside the ship, they have to follow the quarantine laws by the third officer. Ash is right by the shuttle, is right by the airlock, so he just opens it for them. They bring it inside. Lambert and Ripley get into a fight because Lambert's being a bitch. And Dallas yells at her, telling her if he gives her an order, she better actually follow it. Yeah, okay. So we get the whole scientific sequence of them trying to actually understand what the hell is in there, trying to get the damn thing, trying to get the facehugger off of Kane. Nothing's working. They try to maybe make a little incision, trying to cut it off by the knuckle. It bleeds acid, which goes through a couple of flights of floors. So okay, it bleeds acid. So what the hell? So they can't get it off him. So they decide to leave it on him until they figure out something else. Ash is getting more and more scientific information out of the creature, and eventually, this has been a little bit weird. Apparently, there was supposedly a sex scene that was supposed to be made for Dallas and Ripley in this, and Sigourney Weaver was talking about that at some point in one interview. But apparently, there was actually a second, but it turns out there was a scene that may have been filmed, but it was deleted at some point. So I don't know. It was actually, well, since this is Sigourney Weaver's first film, I guess she would have done anything at this point. So whatever. Yeah. So yeah, supposedly there was a sex scene between her and Dallas. That's why they have a bit of a rocky relationship at this point. And once you happen to notice, they actually put that shit in Prometheus. But there's no sex scene. It's like, no, it was just it was just no, it was just the captain and the co-pilot just having sex. It's like, you want to go have sex? Yeah, let's go. Really? The captain was the coolest character in the whole fucking movie, too. Too bad the film sucked. So, what happens? So, what actually happens? Ripley confronts Ash about the whole chain of command thing, and he just gives her the cold shoulder, and eventually the facehugger comes off. They try looking for it, and they find it, and it's dead. What the hell? Makes no sense. So afterwards, we later find out Brett and Parker actually did finish most of the major repairs. There's only a few systems that still need to be checked, and Dallas is like, "Fuck that, we can take off without this shit." He just wants to get the hell out of here. So they lift off, no problems whatsoever. They hook up with the main ship. with the main body of the ship, and they fly on. And Dallas is like, okay, look, guys, we fucked up. We're gonna go into quarantine the second we get back home. All right, no exceptions. All right, let's get ready. We're all get free. We're gonna head back to the freezer. But of course, Kane wakes up, and they talk to him. He seems to be fine and everything. So they decide to have dinner with him and to have one more dinner before they go to sleep. And during the iconic sequence, Kane actually starts breathing erratically and has chest pains, where they try to hold him down and try to sedate him, and then blood starts spurting out of his chest, and eventually the xenomorph pops out of his chest, and the iconic chest burster sequence. Very iconic to the point when I saw the edited version on television, they did not edit this down whatsoever because it's such an iconic sequence. It's like, you know what? Just leave it alone. It's very iconic. Just don't touch it. Don't cut it. It's a scary sequence and it works. It fucking works. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But you want to know what's even more interesting? Behind the scenes, the cast did not know that was going to happen. They had no idea. Okay, apparently because they had to leave the room for a bit, and then they came back, and John Hurt was ready and all, but it turns out his torso was underneath the table at the time, and they didn't even realize it. So it was a prop mannequin, and the xenomorph just came right out. Everybody freaked out on set. I mean, Lambert's actress legit freaked out when she saw the thing too, because it was a real reaction. So okay, that worked. We're good. We got a great sequence. And so what they do, they wrap up Kane and toss his body out into space. So they get motion sensors and cattle pods go after the xenomorph because it's like what it's about that big and about that long, so it should be easy to spot. So Lambert, Dallas, and Ash go off in one direction. Brett Parker and Ripley go in another direction. They think they spotted it, but nope. Ah! Yeah, they they got the cat by mistake and it ran away. Ripley and Parker recalibrate the stupid thing while Brett goes after the cat, which is arguably the stupidest thing to do in the whole movie, and this is when they figured it out. So Brett's going after the cat, and he finds shedded skin from the little creature that was nearby. So he goes into a cooling area, where there's a water tank. And in the director's cut version, you do see the xenomorph just like doing its thing like this. Yeah, it's just being lifeless. So you think it's just a piece of machinery? No, it's really the xenomorph. Brett finds the cat, and the xenomorph comes down, and it does the iconic scene where it opens its mouth real slowly, and then. However, there's something else to it too. Fans actually re-edit the sequence online, and it was released on YouTube at some point before it was taken down. Then it was brought back up because it's the legit sequence. You know that scene or that happens later on in the movie where the tail goes right up. The tail comes right up the back of Lambert. That wasn't Lambert's leg it was going back up to. It was actually Brett's leg. So the tail stings him in the back, and the xenomorph head bites him. Does a tongue headbutt on him, grabs him, takes him up into the cooling tower. Ripley and Parker come running in, yelling out Brett, and starts raining blood. He's dead. So they converse with everybody, saying, "Well, it's now Kane's." Ash calls it Kane's son. Yeah, great scientific name, asshole. Lovely. So Dallas comes up with another plan that should contain it within the airlock because it's using the air duct system to move around it. So they found out which system it's hiding in. Somebody's going to go in and try to flush it out into the main airlock section and blow it out into outer space. So Dallas volunteers, and Ripley and Ash are right by the control system for the airlocks, while Lambert and Parker are right by the actual main air dock itself. Lambert's trying to keep an eye on both Dallas and the xenomorph. It's a very stressful and claustrophobic scene, which is again very iconic. I'm serious. This one's got a lot of iconic, scary moments in it, though. They make it a good film. This movie has been classified as a haunted house in space. That's not exactly true. All right, it's actually since Halloween came out a year prior to this, it's technically a slasher film in space, and the alien is a slasher. How come nobody figured this out? I whatever. Anyway, at some point, the xenomorph, when it stops moving, it's no longer on the radar system, and then it starts moving towards Dallas. And, well, okay, it grabs Dallas. Parker and Lambert, Lambert is freaking the fuck out. She's going all emotional. She's going completely crazy at this point, saying that she should actually just take the shuttlecraft and just set the ship to self-destruct. But the shuttlecraft can't hold more than 4 people. Well, actually, it can only hold like one person. That's pretty fucked up. But anyway, Parker and Ripley said they're gonna stay. They want to stay on board and kill the damn thing. While Ash is trying to get more information on the xenomorph, but apparently Ash is not being very helpful. And Ripley says he's fucking useless. And she's third in command. She has Ash as the mother. So okay, Parker actually, and so there is a sequence that's in the theatrical cut version that was removed in the director's cut version, but still stayed in the film. But I think it's supposed to. But here's the thing: it was removed for an obvious reason because here's the lost sequence that kind of fucks the whole film up since it was removed. All right, it's called the airlock sequence. All right, this whole sequence is when Parker went to go refuel the thing. He noticed the xenomorph was getting close to the air, was getting close to the air dock. He sees it was getting close to it, so he calls Lambert and Ripley and Ash, tell them we're going to try to block the airlock, trying to flush the fucker out into space. So they actually do open it up, but the xenomorph actually leaves the area before they open it up. So it was able to get back into the vents and seal itself in. Right. And thus this leaves an entire sequence where where the entire crew gets become weightless and gets thrown around in the ship a little bit. Ripley actually hits her head like face first in a container, which actually causes her nose bleeding. Seriously, the one thing that this film series never answered was what happened. Why is Ripley's nose bleeding? Well, now you know why. She hit her head pretty hard, which causes her nose to bleed. And Ash also supposedly got hit in the head at some point too, really hard, which would explain what happens a little bit later, what he does later on. So yeah, so they abandoned the sequence. So yeah, after the so-called abandoned sequence, they go back to what they were trying to do. Ripley makes her way into the mother's room to actually get some information upon the xenomorph. But it turns out the science officer has the full authority here. She overrides it to find out what the hell's going on, and it turns out that the company Wayland Yutani that they work for, Building Better Worlds, wants the alien. So yeah, it was actually to bring the xenomorph back to Earth, whatever the cost, and the crew has been labeled as expendable. And Ash is right behind her too when the sequence happened too. And it's like, what, the door didn't open or anything? I don't know when to get in there. So she pushes him against the wall, and she's really frustrated. And she starts to have her nose bleed because of the whole deleted sequence. Now, why was the sequence deleted? Well, apparently they were trying to shorten the film down a little bit more or something in the theatrical cut version. So when it's time to actually release the director's cut version, guess what happened? The negatives where the sequence was stored in, half the footage was destroyed because it was improperly stored. So yeah, like okay, a good majority of the sequence is actually in there, but the parts with like the whole floating around thing and Ripley getting hit in the head or something, and the xenomorph running away, yeah, those parts were destroyed by mistake, were accidentally destroyed because they were improperly stored. Fuck. So this isn't really a director's cut version; it's just an alternate cut version that's shortened down. Fuck. God damn it! Which really pisses me off. Why this isn't the full cut edition. All right. So anyway, Ripley tries to leave, but then Ash locks the doors around her and starts to sweat white liquid out of him, and he starts going He starts going ape shit and starts tossing her around, gets a magazine, tries to force it down her force it into her mouth, make her choke to death. Lambert and Parker start coming right in. They try to fight to get Ash off, but he's too strong. In fact, with just one hand of his left arm, he goes right to Parker's left pec and just squeezes it and goes and throws him right off just by squeezing. And Parker's huge. And Parker, height and weight wise, he's huge, and yet Ash is able to do that to him. What the fuck? Well, here's the thing: he grabs a fire extinguisher and starts smacking it. It starts hitting Ash on the back of the head, and he starts going crazy and starts making a bunch of weird noises. Starts spitting out white liquid and everything. What the fuck is going on? He hits him in the head again. His head comes right off, and it turns out he's a fucking robot. So, oh. And here's where the so-called Blade Runner connection starts coming in. Since Ridley Scott directed that film, apparently Wayland's company, one of the Wayland founders or something, actually knew actually talked to the professor who actually made the replicants originally, and actually they worked together, and so they actually went to two different fields. All right, so the replicants are completely different design altogether, which are more human, while they actually went more of an organic robot route over at Wayland-Yutani. There you go. So there's the Blade Runner connection. So eventually, Lambert and Parker short him out, and they completely almost destroy him. Ripley actually just wants to get more answers, so they hook him up, place his head down, and actually bypass the security protocol and reactivate him. And she talks to what was the special order, and well, she already discussed it, so yeah, we already knew what it was. So everything else was irrelevant. So they just wanted to bring the xenomorph. He wants to bring the xenomorph back to Earth. Okay, perfect. Everything's explained. And he said that they can't kill it because it's a perfect survivor. Yeah, I'm gonna call bullshit on that one. It's not a perfect survivor. It's an animal. And so so Ripley gets fed up. She disconnects Ash, and they decide to blow up the ship and take her chances on the shuttle. So she heads to the bridge to set everything up. Parker and Lambert actually head down to the Bay Area to actually get everything all set up. Then for air supply to actually go right back to actually get the shuttle ready. And Ripley's getting the shuttle ready via the cockpit, but however, she hears over the radio that Jonesy is still nearby, so she has to go get Jonesy before the xenomorph gets to him. So we get another cat scare again, and while she gets to Jonesy, puts him inside of a pet taxi, a futuristic pet taxi, where we see the xenomorph is actually now by Parker and Lambert, and there's another deleted sequence in the movie too, and it's called the crab walk sequence, where the xenomorph is just doing a crab walk, and it was deleted because it looked kind of silly. Well, of course, when you look at the footage, there's no sound to it, so it looks kind of silly when you see it, though. But if it was in the movie originally with the soundtrack, it would have been a little bit more creepy. It would have been extremely creepy because all we see is the xenomorph just looks at Lambert like, crab walks a little bit towards her, and just stands right up in a very creepy stance. So the xenomorph itself is well around 7. It's over 7 feet tall anyway, so it's huge. So it's tall and very strong. Lambert is paralyzed by fear, and Ripley can hear everything over the radio. Parker is yelling at Lambert to get the fuck away from it, though, but she's paralyzed with fear. Parker tries to fight off the xenomorph. The xenomorph is just way too strong. It beats down Parker, and then just in his head. And then, well, we get a real fucked up coincidental something of a fucked up fan theory what actually happened here. But okay. Okay, I don't know how to say this, but we don't know what happens to Lambert. All right, her death is completely off screen. All we hear are the screams and everything, and the xenomorph is roaring in anger. So why was this? Well, all we see from Lambert is that she was pantsed, and we just see her her naked legs covered in blood, just like hanging, and we see Parker in the background. That's it. Whatever it was, it really freaked Ripley out, so she just up and left. As for the sequence itself, apparently Lambert's actress was actually hanging on a hammock at the time. That's how they got the sequence down. So, all right, Ripley runs away and she activates the self-destruct sequence. All right, so she's got like around 10 minutes or so, but she has 5 minutes to say if she wants to turn off the self-destruct sequence while carrying Jonesy in a flamethrower. And she comes on to one of she makes a break through the cargo area where she finds resin, like the same bioorganic weapon, like the biomechanical resin that we see the xenomorph was made out of, and what the space rocket ship was sort of made out of too. All right, and then we come across Dallas and Brett. Brett is dead, and Dallas is still alive, like in a fucking zombie-like state. And they're being, and this is what they call the egg morphing sequence, which was removed. And this is something a little bit that may have actually happened, may have contributed to what happened with Lambert. So, yeah, since Brett and Dallas are both male, they were turned into egg. They were morphed in they were trying to do egg morphing because the reproduction was the one thing on the xenomorph's mind. So Lambert was female. Okay, you kind of see what happened, what's happening here, right? You kind of see what the xenomorph was trying to do. Well, okay, it was trying to procreate with Lambert. So I guess technically it's technically considered like a rape. But to be fair, there's a lot. Technically, the way the xenomorph reproduction is kind of rape to begin with the fucking face hugger. So yeah, good fucking lord. So what happened? Well, it wasn't until the sequel we found something. It wasn't until the sequel Aliens we discovered something about Lambert. Lambert had a sex change operation, and this is in the special edition, mind you. If you have the DVD and Blu-ray edition, you can actually zoom into the background. And it says right there that Lambert was actually born a man, was born male, and later when he was of age, he actually got a sex change operation where he became Lambert. So you can kind of see what actually happened here. Lambert, the xenomorph sees Lambert as a female, so it knows about the sexual reproduction organs of humans. And so what the xenomorph was trying to do was, well, what Chet, the Pred alien from Alien vs. Predator Requiem, it was trying to do the exact same thing of that. In that film, Chet impregnated pregnant women by actually impregnating them with 4 eggs down their gullet, and because the womb would actually be more or less because the female womb would actually incubate the xenomorphs and give us 4 extra xenomorphs. That's what he was trying to do. So clearly, that's what probably the xenomorph was trying to do with Lambert. However, since Lambert turned out to be was originally was actually a man when she was born. Yeah, she didn't have the plumbing, to say the least. So that explains why the xenomorph roared in anger. So technically it sexually assaulted her, but when it found out it was a woman, it fucking murdered her right there on the spot. Probably like did something inhumane, like rip her head off, ripped her, like tore her inside out or something. Always over the legs. So yeah, that's basically it. The xenomorph raped her, and it was a fan theory of the xenomorph. The fan theory was that the xenomorph raped her to actually try to impregnate her, whatever it was that was trying to procreate with. But when it found out that Lambert was actually a man, she didn't have the right plumbing equipment. So, in frustration, it murdered her right there on the spot, doing God only knows what to her. So I'm not going to go into further detail. Anyway, Ripley gets to the shuttlecraft, to the area where the shuttlecraft is, but the xenomorph beats her there, and she drops Jonesy and heads right back to. She freaks out and heads right back to the self-destruct control area. And what's the xenomorph do? It looks at Jonesy. In the theatrical cut version, it just looks at him and cuts right back to Ripley. But in the original director's cut version, what does it do? Smack. Wow, you're a dick. Yeah, Xenomorph, you're a dick. I say that with a passion. You are a dick. So she gets back trying to stop the self-destruct sequence. She does the entire sequence, but the problem is she was at least a second late. So the self-destruct sequence still continues. She calls Mother a bitch. She heads right back to the escape to the shuttle. The door's still open, so okay, she just runs right back in there. She runs in there, she grabs Joji, runs in there, and just launches the shuttle, and the whole Nostromo self destructs. Just big boom. Three sequences of booms, like boom, boom, boom. Why'd you do that three times? The fuck? Anyway, she says she got him, that son of a bitch. So she puts Jonesy in the cryo container, and she undresses it. We get the sexy undress scene where we get to see a crack of her ass. Well, to be fair, Sigourney Weaver's got a really nice ass. I mean, seriously, even at this age, she's still got a nice body, so whatever. So she does some more computer calculation stuff where however, one of the panels looks a little bit weird, and we see it comes out and it's actually the xenomorph's hand. The tubing area she thought was actually just tubing. Nope, it was the xenomorph's head. And apparently it's asleep. So she freaks out. She hides him in the closet with the exploration suits. And yeah, the fucking thing's asleep. The Okay, I called it a dick just a couple of minutes ago, but dude, seriously, you fell asleep. Ripley ran right past you. I mean, seriously, if you watch the sequence again, knowing that you can see the xenomorph sleeping in the same area, knowing where the hell it is, it just lies there immobile. Oh, well, my mask fell down. Go figure. Maybe it was a ghost. Woo-hoo. So either way, yeah, I said ghost, and there's a poster of Ghost right there from Call of Duty Ghost. Go figure, right? So anyway, yeah, the xenomorph is a heavy sleeper. I mean, I'm not even joking here. I mean, Ripley ran right past her, screaming, panting, running. She was very loud when she came in, too. The ship exploded, three consecutive explosions that were extremely loud, even in space. And she puts Josie in, and Ripley's not even quiet when she's actually saying the whole thing up. And the thing is sleeping. What? No more than 10, no more than 6 feet, like no more than 10 to 6 feet away from her. What? This fucker's a heavy sleeper. How? I thought Snorlax from Pokemon was bad, but good God. Seriously? It's like, boom, boom, boom. Snooze. Yeah. Don't forget it. I know it's supposed to be a scary sequence, but I have to question the fuck. Oh. So anyway, Ripley actually decides she's gonna blow it out the airlock. So she suits up. She's singing "My Little Star," a lullaby song to keep her calm, and she uses the CO2 system that's in that exact spot to actually get to wake the xenomorph up, and it comes crawling right out, like, and it starts screeching like, "Dude, you slept through Ripley running right past you, arming everything up, and you slept through an explosion, and yet a CO2 leak is what wakes you up." I got nothing to say about that. I got nothing. Nothing. Right now, I'm thinking about I should probably get my go back there and pick up the Jason mask and throw it right back up on the door there. But still, I got nothing. So anyway, the xenomorph sees her. It sneaks up right behind her. She turns around. It's gonna actually do the thing on her, but she hits the door to the airlock right by in the shuttle. It goes flying out there, but it's holding onto the door. She shoots a grappling hook gun at it, though. It goes flying out. And okay, the thing is, the door closes on the grappling gun uh, before it can leave. So it tries to open the door, it can't. So it decides, okay, screw you. I'm going to sleep in this giant container unit, which is a booster rocket. And so what happens? Ripley engages the booster rocket, which it burns the xenomorph, also calcifying it, and it goes flying away, killing itself. Okay, it didn't exactly kill itself. I saw a sequence like this in 1,000 Ways to Die at one point, where some pyromaniac set himself on fire by accident, and he jumps into a cold lake. But the thing is, his whole body went to shock, and his cartilage infused itself into it, like fused up, and he drank and he swallowed a lot of water, just drowning instantly. So I guess the same thing actually happened with the xenomorph here. Its body was badly burned, so it lost a huge amount of its flesh right by the rocket, right where the rocket was. And of course, once it hit the cold vacuum of space, its body went into the same shock moment and also froze up, and it died right there on the spot. Yeah. So Ripley makes an account saying that that's it. The creature's dead. She's gonna go to the cryo sleep. She says a nice little monologue sequence that goes into cryo sleep and get a nice little shot of her sleeping, and roll credits. And that, my friends, was Alien. Classic movie in its own right, definitely a slasher. And originally, the movie was going to have a sequel called Alien 2, which it was actually released in a book format, and Ash was supposed to be the main villain or something. It is just a weird book all the way, but it continues with the horror franchise. It continues on with the horror sequence, leaving the science fiction element out of it, and continuing more as a horror-based novel. Now, earlier I said that the movie actually went through several production changes once H.R. Geiger got aboard. And here's a fun fact. Before Disney bought the franchise out, Dark Horse made one more comic series of Alien called Alien Star Beast, and it was the original storyline that Dan O'Bannon had written. Yeah, with the characters originally supposed to look like, the original alien design, the pyramid, everything was in there. It was a 5-issue set and it sold pretty well. And it's basically an alternate take of what Alien would have looked like had it gone in that direction. And you know what? I think the movie would have been good regardless. We got this series out of it though. But what would happen if the Starbeast storyline was actually made instead? Would have been different. But hey, somewhere in the vast multiverse, that was a thing. Yeah. So unfortunately, the sequel wouldn't be made until 1986. The sequel was supposed to be made, I think, in 1980 or 1981 or 82. But the problem is they didn't know how to make the film. So one of the original concepts for the sequel was made into a book instead. But either way, Alien became its own film, and the director's cut version was released in 2003. And afterwards, the DVD set was later released. It's now also on Blu-ray. But if I were you, I would get the Blu-ray set without the last two films. And like I said before, Disney and Marvel bought the franchise out, so Marvel's actually re-releasing the comics, which is pissing off everybody right now because now they're gonna do like X-Men or Wolverine versus Predator or something. Oh, whatever, dude. They were better off with the DC characters, not Marvel. You're just gonna fuck it up further. Oh. But you know what? I'm done with Marvel as it is, so it doesn't really matter at this point. But there is something good. There's some good news out of this, though. There's a new Alien film or a new Alien series coming out for Hulu, and supposedly it's gonna get the exact same treatment as Prey did. I don't know if that's gonna be true or not, but to be fair, Prey was actually a long overdue prequel that actually got most of the stuff right, most of it. But Prey is not an alien film; it's a predator film. So if it bleeds, we can kill it. So that's all I gotta say. Do I recommend Alien? Give it a watch. Either version, it's actually not that bad. But hell, I've already wasted nearly an hour talking about the film. That's more than I can say. Tune in tomorrow and we'll take a look at Predator. He may not be back, but hey, like he said, if it bleeds, we can kill it. Take care now.